the bench with Jacob Hester and Matt Flynn.
Okay, here we go.
Where the plays get broken down and science gets denied.
Hey, they said I gotta come off the bench.
Hour 2 of Off the Bench, live from the Raising Cane studio.
All right, welcome back in. Hour number 2 of Off the Bench here on a Wednesday morning. Wednesday show brought to you by Hood Dental Care. Go check them out, hooddentalcare.com. If you are looking for, maybe it's a new dentist, maybe if you're like in your late 20s, early 30s, and you just realize, like, I'm trying to figure out how to adult, and I forgot that I got to go to the dentist like every year or maybe a couple times a year. Just forgot that part. My parents aren't taking care of those appointments anymore. Go check them out, hooddentalcare.com. They do everything, and they what sets them apart is they are just committed to excellence in all things dentist. So whether it's cosmetics, whether it's family dentistry, all things, go check them out, hooddentalcare.com. And we are so fired up that they help bring this show to you every single Wednesday. And we are also fired up that every single Wednesday we get to Dr. Stephen Etheredge joining the show. Doc, good morning. How you doing?
Morning. Still figuring out this adulting thing as well. So,
dude, it stinks, doesn't it?
It's not fun.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
And you're a doctor.
Yeah. I don't like the adult side.
I did. Like it was a while, and still probably not the most consistent with it. But like, you got to schedule your own dentist appointment.
Like you got to. It's important.
It is important. And one of my when I got out of the NFL, one of my welcome to actual life and being a real human being outside of the professional football world was like having to book my own doctor appointment and like sign up and go to a waiting room.
It's a big deal. And I mean, you don't do it. I believe that, I think they attribute the cause of George Washington's death to poor dental issues.
Yeah, wooden teeth.
Got him. Yeah. And I think it eventually caused, some infections and other things that,
my God,
first president, if you got him, it can get you too.
I know. It got George Washington.
Right.
I don't know. I hadn't seen a lot of wooden teeth around, but
no.
Yeah. Oh well, Doc. So last week you were in Fort Worth with the gymnastics team.
We were a great trip. Girls did awesome.
God, they did, didn't they?
Just a couple, not even a tenth of a point shy. And
what point? 0.85, something like that.
Yeah, they did awesome. Really proud of them. They battled through. We talk a lot about medical, and I've said before they're tough, and they had to be there. They were fighting it at the end, and
I'm sure
a lot of stuff that accumulates. So really proud of them.
Yeah, it's impressive that you talked about on the show when you called in from Fort Worth about all the stuff. Like there's a difference between hurt and injured, right? But like at the abuse that they put onto their body, and like you see how beautiful and elegant and like easy they make the moves look during the meet. But what you don't see is like the amount of times they have to do that and like push themselves in practice to be good at that. So I'm sure like most of that stress comes from just the training.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work that goes into it. Like you said, it's just you only see a fraction of it, and that's like really, to be fair, any sport. But I feel like that's one where that's extremely true is with gymnastics. That the work, not just the practice and the preparation, but the medical, the preparation they have to go to, the work the staff does, the training staff. Jenny, the trainer with the gym, she does a great job getting those girls ready, but it's. And then when I'm watching them doing what they're doing, knowing that some of them are fighting through it, I'm holding my breath probably even more than the rest of everybody because I'm like, oh gosh, I hope that injury doesn't flare up right now, and it's impressive what they do even without the injuries. But then you factor that in, it's just that much more.
Well, you get a little adrenaline pumping too.
Oh yeah,
maybe like if you got the same injury and it's a meet that maybe not quite as big as the national level, you got a little adrenaline. And I know that they have to control that too. That's part of their training is controlling that adrenaline flow.
Yeah, you have to because you can't be too amped up. It's not kind of like can't be a nut out there. But
well, we got Jay Clark coming on the show at 8:30, so can't wait to kind of give his just rundown. I mean, I want to show like his post-meet speech to the girl. Like it's just great. He's a great steward.
He's been fantastic. He's such a good representative for the university, like you said. But he's just such a healthy program where they're at. Unfortunately, that's not always the case with gymnastics. You look at some of these programs around the country, and it's not always the healthiest sport, not just from the physical side, but a lot of times the mental stuff that goes into it. And he does a fantastic job of kind of having his thumb on the pulse of what needs to be done and what doesn't need to be done. So
Do they shut those girls down for like a month now?
yeah.
Got to, right?
Got to.
Doctor's orders.
Yeah, they need it. They've earned it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Doc. Let's talk a little bit. A couple injuries came to kind of the headlines yesterday for LSU. Certainly, the pitcher has been out for. We've had a pitcher out for multiple weeks, and so we didn't know. I kind of figured he was out for the year, but we heard officially yesterday, kind of out. I don't want to ask like specifically about the injury, but as a former thrower myself, I was telling the story about. I think yesterday I had elbow tendonitis 1 year, and it almost cost me the last couple of years of my career because sometimes you have these injuries, and there's so many like small muscles in your forearm and the elbow area that they lock up. They do their job for a reason. They lock up to protect different things, and I just could not get this one spot healed. And it was one of those situations where I was like, all right, we're going to take 2 months off. You're not going to throw a ball for 2 months. We're going to rehab it. We're going to strengthen. We're going to do all different treatments on it. And I did it. 2 months later, I threw the ball, and it felt the exact same as it did 2 months before. And I was like, all right, well, I'm out of here. I'm going to go try something else somewhere else. And so it's one of those situations where the body just did not do the things that it wanted to, so we had to figure something else out. Is there a hope that sometimes when you get these shoulder or elbow injuries, whatever it may be, that the body takes over and does its thing, and then you just have to make a different assessment? Is there like two diagnoses or assessments that can come from the same injury when it comes to like a highly used elbow shoulder situation for a thrower?
Yeah, for sure there are. And it's I tell patients all the time, whether it's our athletes or in my clinic, just the people that are coming in, there's different types of injuries out there. There's some that are very obvious. We know exactly with this injury that this is the right treatment, that this is going to be what we have to do. If you tear your ACL, we know we need to go reconstruct an ACL. If you have a lot of these kind of overuse injuries, which is what most throwing injuries are going to be. Most of the times it's going to be lots and lots of throwing over years and years and years, kind of like with your example. And really, we weren't designed to be overhead throwers. That's kind of an unnatural motion for humans. So when you do that over and over, for one, you're going to have certain areas that just accumulate stress. And even if you're doing everything perfect, but even more so if you're overdoing it or have bad technique. But then when you're dealing with some of these areas, if it's a ligament injury or a tendon injury or a stress injury to bone, which are the things that we typically see, is these are areas that don't always have good blood flow. These are areas that aren't always going to respond the same. So, I see a lot of patients with tennis elbow, which is it's a tendon injury in the elbow. It's kind of a similar thing to what we see. And I tell my patients all the time, this is a weird problem. I was like, I wish I could tell you that this is the right answer. It's not to say, okay, I know the right answer and this is definitely it. And I kind of go through this whole spiel where there's things we can do. There's, usually we try to start with the safer, least lower invasive procedures, especially in the general population. And then we kind of build from there. And it's not always an answer. Now, in the heart of the season, sometimes there's more pressure. We still want to do things safely. We don't want to put our athletes at risk. So sometimes we'll be a little bit more quick to jump to some of those more, I wouldn't say extreme, but a little bit further down the list treatments. But even then, you don't always know the response you're going to get, and nobody does. It's not an easy thing. So
you probably start with like the biological, like injections, and then if that doesn't work, then it's surgery, like repair.
A lot of times that's where we end up, especially with the athlete. A lot of times we'll skip. Like I said, with a lot of these injections, I think they're great options. They're safe, they're healthy. Things like PRP, some of the stem cells, things like that we sometimes do. And that's going to be more the soft tissue, the ligaments, the tendons, the muscles. So yeah, sometimes we're quicker to do those treatments. But even then, you got to talk with the athletes. You got to decide what they want to do too. It's always their decision too. That's first and foremost. And so we kind of give them the options. And then rehab. The trainers do a great job. We get our physical therapists involved. We get all the things on deck. But sometimes these things just don't go the way you want them to, and sometimes the body, to your point, doesn't respond. We hope it does, but.
Doc, I know you're the doctor and everything, but let me give you a little piece of advice. Elbow tendonitis, PRP is crap. Just want you to know that.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
That's what I had, and then I waited 2 months, and then nothing changed.
Yeah, it probably didn't feel good when you got it.
Oh, God.
It was hurt.
It felt better than the stem cells, but the stem cells did actually work. It took about a month, though. Yeah. Maybe 2 months before.
Yeah, sometimes you got to, and look, sometimes even if it works, it takes time.
Yeah.
It's not always going to be a quick fix even then.
It was wild because they were like, all right, these are the stem cells. They take about 4 to 6 weeks to like work, and you start feeling anything. About 5 weeks, I woke up one day and I was like, "Whoa, it didn't hurt at all. Like, this is fantastic."
They work well. We've had pretty good results with the ones we've done.
People throw really fast these days.
Really fast.
Pitchers, like if you don't throw 95, it's like you're slow these days, which is a wild world.
It's crazy.
So people, body mechanics, being able to everybody have access to film and teachings, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's on watching a big league pitcher and an analyst breaking down his pitching motion. Everybody understands that it's not just about muscles, that strong people that throw the ball hard or strong people that hit the ball far. It's about body mechanics, creating levers and torque and lag and speed of the bat, speed of the arm, and whip the whip motion. That creates a lot of stress on an elbow. Maybe not so much on the shoulder, but it's all in the whipping motion. And people talk about the elbow being like the handle of a whip. It's got to lead everything, and everything comes through. That creates. I mean, there's ligaments. God made these ligaments to do stuff. I don't know if He made everybody to be able to throw 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
But you contort your body and to get to that speed because that's what you got to do to compete. Do you have to be a certain, like a certain body? Like people can do it. People have been throwing 100 miles an hour for half a century, right? But it's the certain type of people with a certain type of build, with a certain type of mechanics. Not everybody can do that. Like what are the dangers like long term of you see high schoolers throwing 98, 99 miles an hour?
Yeah, I think one thing that we've kind of come to understand is the harder you throw, the more stress. I mean, that's just kind of physics. We kind of know that. That's any situation. The harder or faster something moves, it's going to have more force. And so when you start moving that arm faster and faster and putting more torque on that elbow, it is going to have more problems. Now, some people, just by the way they are made, genetically predisposed, well, some people are never going to be able to throw 100 miles an hour. You have to have some of the right predispositions, and it's not just strength. It's going to be kind of something because you have to put that torque. How much laxity of your arm do you have? How much are you able to develop? And a lot of those things. So it's not. There's a lot that goes into it, and then yeah, some people are going to be less injury prone. I think we had talked one of the episodes talking about a guy like Nolan Ryan who literally made it all the way to the end of his career, which was a long career before he ever had any like Tommy John type injury. And this is a guy who threw gas and threw a lot more than guys they throw. He was built a little different. Now we can also talk about the training and the different ways we do things now versus then. And there's probably something. Yeah, and look, there may be something to that. But also the fact that he did what he did for as long as he did, there was just some guys are made different. And so the reality of it, we know some people have more dense tendons, more dense ligaments, more dense bone. We know there's a lot of things that go into it, and there's some of these things are going to be more protective. So there is some predisposition for all these things, both the ability and the injury risk, and some that we understand, but most that we're still kind of figuring out.
Mm-hmm. All right, Doc. The question that has been burning in my brain for about 24 hours now, what the heck's a hamate bone?
So in your wrist, you've got what are called your carpal and your metacarpal bones. So you have the long bones of the forearm that come down, so the radius and the ulna. They come down, and there's a grouping of several little small bones right there. Those are your carpal bones. And the hamate is one of those. So if you think about the different bones in there, and it's one of the ones that we do think about in sports, particularly like racket or clubs or bats. So when you're gripping a club, so it's a golf injury too. I know in this sense we're obviously talking about baseball, but it's a common baseball, softball, golf, anything where you're gripping a racket. And especially repetitive motions, kind of like the elbow with throwing, most of these injuries, or at least a lot of them, are going to be from that repetitive stress in that area. Now, a lot of times the ultimate injury will come from something that's a little bit higher stress, like you're trying to check a swing and suddenly stop it, or in a golfer, sometimes they kind of come up a little fat and hit the ground. That's a lot of times when you see the actual injury, but there's also a lot of thought that it's probably an accumulated stress injury as well. So it's probably a little bit of both. But it's a bone here on the pinky side of the wrist. So you kind of right there in what's called the hypothenar area. It's just kind of right at the base of that, and it's kind of right in that crease area. So it's actually one of the bones that helps make up the carpal tunnel.
Right where the hand connects to the arm. Right there, right that crease when you bend your
there, and it's right in that pinky side. And you and again with that, if you think about the rotation that goes in, and especially if you're suddenly trying to stop it too sometimes, or if you come to a sudden stop. So either if you, like I said, hit the ground in a golf club, or if you're trying to check a swing or something like that, that's a lot of times you see these injuries.
I think a lumberjack would get that too.
They probably do. They probably do. I don't see too many lumberjacks in the clinic.
Sure.
Maybe we move our practice up north. Maybe then we see more of it. But and then it's not always an easy diagnosis. It's missed a lot of times on X-rays. So a lot of times you just go get a standard X-ray.
Is it just because it's like I'm trying to think of like an X-ray of an arm wrist? Like I feel like there's just a lot of floating muscles or floating bones in there.
A lot of small bones, and sometimes they do kind of look like they're floating in there. I mean, they obviously all have different ligamentous attachments, but it does kind of look that way on the X-ray. Sure. And then there's what's called the hook of the hamate, so it's a little projection that comes off of it, and that's usually where the fracture is. Sure. And because of the 2D nature of an X-ray, sometimes really hard to see, so you really need to get a lot of times an MRI or a CT scan to diagnose it. Sometimes you'll see it on the X-ray, but it's often missed.
Are there any other famous carpals on the wrist?
Probably the one that's talked about the most outside of that one is probably the scaphoid. Scaphoid is a little bone that's more on the other side, a little closer to the radial side of the wrist or the thumb side of the wrist. It's mostly associated with falls on an outstretched hand, or what we call a fouche injury. With that one, it's also one that's it's talked about. You see fractures of that one a lot more, and it's one that can be a snake in the grass too, though, because sometimes missed on an X-ray, and if you don't treat these appropriately, they can develop into chronic wrist issues. So those are two you always kind of, as a physician, need to be suspicious of. One more on the thumb side, one more on the pinky side. The mechanism of the injury is always important.
Classic scaphoid.
Classic scaphoid.
What'd you call it? A
fouche
a
injury.
Fouche.
Fall on outstretched hand.
Huh. All right. We got a hamate. We got a scaphoid, fouche.
We are learning so
we are
much
learning.
today.
We're getting our
Did
Did you
learn
know
on.
about
It's a
the
good day.
privateer thing?
I did not, actually.
Did you hear?
So I did catch that. So, yeah.
We taught a doctor something.
Yeah, so I appreciated that. Thank you.
Privateer is a legal, classy pirate.
Yes, classy pirates.
Now, we
Stay
threw in
classy
the
out there.
classy. Yeah, we did. And they actually fight for their country.
I think that was what's the famous pirate down in New Orleans? Jean, or what's his name?
John Lafitte.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think at one point he was a privateer.
He was the mascot.
I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Is he a privateer?
Yeah.
So he's
I
not a
believe
pirate.
so. He did a little bit of both, I think.
Oh.
I think at one point he was a pirate, and then
Who's the dark
to
side?
kind
the lights-
of get a pardon, kind of get out of trouble.
I'm pretty sure he.
I think I might. I don't.
that's what the
Historians, if I'm
UNO's
wrong on that, I
mascot's
apologize.
called. Like, I
Maybe
think
he was
that's
a
his name.
mercenary.
I think it was one of those kind of deals where
He was like the best in the game at the pirate
Right.
game. They're like,
So they
hey,
recruited him.
They recruited him.
Yeah, I really think it was something. Again, I might be wrong, but I feel like it was to sort of say, hey, we'll kind of forget those things you did if you help us out here.
Kind of like Jay, they recruit a little power for their lineup, and they recruit the best pirate to be a privateer.
Yep.
I like that. Okay, last question: carpal tunnel syndrome. Which carpal we talking?
Well,
any of the carpals?
Yes, and one of the ones that helps make up the tunnel is the hamate that we were talking about a moment ago. So again, carpal bones. There's on your palm side, you have some tendons, ligaments, and nerves and stuff. Specifically, some tendons and nerves that run through this little natural tunnel that goes on top of the bones, and then there's like a fibrous sheath that sits on top of it. And you have what's called the median nerve, which is the nerve that goes to the pinky and the thumb. Yeah. And if for whatever reason, if that area gets too tight, if it gets compressed, it will compress that nerve. Usually some kind of either injury or inflammatory or overuse conditions. And then you'll get some numbness, tingling, usually on the thumb side of the hand, the thumb and the index finger. Sometimes pain, sometimes numbness, sometimes even weakness can develop in your grip and things like that. And if it's, if it lingers, sometimes it's something you have to go in and relieve some of that pressure surgically.
Doc, we got to learn on today. Like
good day.
Scaphoids, fouches, carpal tunnels.
Hey.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hammett.
No problem.
Yeah, Hammett. Doc, I really appreciate every week coming in and dropping a little knowledge on us. And hopefully we taught you something about privateers.
Yeah, learning something new.
So it's a little give and take here. Just getting our learn on here and off the bench this morning on a Wednesday. So, Doc, we appreciate your time. Thank you as always. And we will see you next week on the other side of the NFL draft.
Let's go.
All right. Go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Thank you, Doc. All right. We appreciate everybody tuning in this morning on a Wednesday morning. Stick with us right here on Off the Bench.
Off the bench.
All right, maybe we talked about it yesterday. It's nearly cannonball season or jackknife season or dive season, whatever you want to do. And if you don't have that pool in your backyard, Well, now's the time to get that conversation started with RussellPools.com, the best in the business when it comes to that custom pool. Maybe after hearing Doc talk, you got a little injury and you want to be like maybe the LSU Tigers and get you a little hot tub, cold tub, get a little, that little rehab, that therapy pool situation going. They can literally do anything. They can make a lazy river. They can make a grotto, maybe a fire feature, or hey, whatever it is, whatever the budget is, they can make a square pool, kidney bean shape, circle pool. It doesn't really matter. And Alondra loves a little dippy pool. Yeah. So whatever it is, go to their website, russellpools.com. You can see their gallery work. You can see literally everything they can do. 2 landscape architects on staff right there, so they can take your dream to reality. russellpools.com.
Off the Bench, presented by Hood Dental.
All right, welcome back here. Off the Bench, hour number 2. I want to thank Dr. Stephen Etheredge, as always, for coming in and enlightening us on the carpals. The hamate bone. I hope everybody feels educated now what exactly a hamate bone is. I want to thank Doc for sure, and thank Hood Dental for sponsoring the Wednesday show, as always. We did a little research on Jean Lafitte at the break.
Okay.
So again, to explain the difference between a privateer and a pirate. A privateer operates with a government letter of marque, so making their raids against enemy ships legal. Whereas pirates, of course, attack any ship illegally. Lafitte used these legal documents to justify capturing Spanish vessels, particularly while leading a colony in Galveston. He was called the Gentleman Pirate. Did you know that?
No.
Just learned that.
I do love Lafitte's in New Orleans.
He was called the Gentleman Pirate, or the King of... Oof.
Oh, no.
Barataria?
Yeah, it's like here in Louisiana.
Okay. Sorry, that's probably a word I should know, but I don't. Let's see. Battle of New Orleans. Despite his lawless activity, he was praised as a hero in the War of 1812, supplying weapons and aiding Andrew Jackson in the Battle of New Orleans.
Yeah. Shout out. Jean Lafitte.
Jean Lafitte. Hey, you do you, buddy.
Legendary privateer / pirate.
Again, crazy that it took LSU defeating UNO to learn exactly what a privateer is.
Yeah. I never questioned it.
I feel like
Yeah,
that's something that
right.
we should have learned in school.
Right.
You just kind of glossed over it. Oh, privateer, they mean pirate, right? They just misspelled it. That's kind of what I thought when Cassie, when you threw up the logo earlier. Anywho. I'm really excited about having
Jay
Clark on the show here coming up in, 3 or 4 minutes when we come back from break right now. So really excited to see him. Of course, LSU gymnastics team finishing runner-up in nationals this past weekend. But absolutely nothing to be disappointed about. His team fought hard and executed incredibly well at the end of the season and the biggest moment of the season. So we're going to discuss his team, the season, what was the gymnastics meet this past weekend, and just really going forward how the gymnastics team is going to be looking next year as well. So why don't we go to break on time right now?
I wouldn't say it's on time. I mean, it's on time for the segment,
For
but
us.
it's a short segment
Right.
because we went long in the first one.
Yeah, but
it's
no, we're on
okay.
time right now.
Yeah.
Come on, Alondra. Whose team are you on?
I'm on Timo TV.
If we say it's on time, it's definitely on time.
It's
No
on
doubt.
time, technically, yeah.
Technically, it is. All right, we're going to get a break. When we come back on the other side of the break, we will have your head coach of the LSU gymnastics team, Mr. Jay Clark, joining the show right here on Off the Bench.
Off the bench.
All right, go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com. Of course, that is the website for Gordon McKerney, injury attorney. If you've been injured, and it doesn't matter where, if you've been injured, if you got a little fender bender, if you got an accident, just maybe driving the kids to work, maybe driving home from work, it doesn't really matter. If you've been injured, job site, and at work and you've been injured on the job site, man, give them a call. It is not always your fault. If somebody else is at fault for this, get what you deserve, especially when there's injuries involved. It's things that you can't control. So give them a call. They've been doing it a long time, helping Louisianans all over the state for a long, long time. The team of attorneys over there is the best in the business with experience. So get exactly what you deserve. Call 888-8888. And it doesn't matter where you are in the state. If you get injured, make sure that is your first call. GetGordon.com.
Off the bench, presented by Hood Dental.
We just went 198 on championship day. That's all you could ever ask for. Okay? Sometimes the stars got to line up. There's nothing to be ashamed of at all. You celebrate this. You know what you did? You left it out there. That was a lot of gutsy performances from people that are hurting and all kinds of things to be proud of. Do not wear this. Okay? Disappointed is okay, not defeated. And look, we move on to the next year. And those of you that aren't with us, you're still part of it next year. You come back. We want y'all to be around as much as you possibly can. We ain't done yet. And there's nothing to cry about. I know you're going to cry. But make sure that you're crying with the understanding that it's not over despair. It's just a little disappointment. But knowing that you did everything you could, you laid it on the line. That's sports, guys. That's the way it goes. We'll be better for it. I am so friggin' proud of y'all. I'm not going to stop saying that.
There he is, Coach Jay Clark, after the national championship meet. And joining us now on the phone is Coach Jay Clark. Join us. Coach, how are you doing? Good morning.
Good morning, guys. How are y'all this day?
Doing fantastic. Coach, I saw that the other day for the first time when it was posted on social media, and it gave me goosebumps because I've been in that situation countless times in my former sports career, and been in those situations where you knew you laid it all on the line, and certainly your ladies did in a fantastic performance this past weekend. Just give us a quick just overview of how you thought from Thursday through the weekend went for your ladies.
Well, I thought on Thursday we were a little tight, and I think a lot of that came from the bulk of our production on our team last year were freshmen and sophomores, and really what they came into this year knowing was that they definitely wanted to advance. And I thought they tightened up a little bit on the first day, and then during the off day, and as we got ready to go into finals, you could feel the air come out of the balloon, and they really their whole demeanor, the way they talked, the way they were communicating with us, everything we did in team meetings, and in terms of messaging and prep from a mental standpoint, you could really feel like they were in a great place. And I was just really proud of the way they attacked that final session, that final day, because it could have gone any of a number of ways, and the season started with number one and number two in a tie when we were out at the Sprouts Invitational, that ABC thing that happened in the first meet of the year. and then it ended with a less than 1/10 deal with the same two teams at the end. I just felt like our team could not have done any more than they did, and as a coach, really, you hope that you get to the end of the year where you have no regrets yourself and don't look back and think, well, I should have prepared them better, or I should have done this differently, I should have, and you want to watch your team be able to feel the same way too, that they put it all out there. And that's really all I was trying to communicate to them at the end, was that, yeah, we're disappointed. Of course we wanted to win that thing, but particularly in a sport that is driven so subjectively, I just didn't think our kids had anything to hang their heads about. And I'm as proud of that team as I've been. I've been part of 8 national titles in my career, and I couldn't be more proud of this one.
Yeah, anybody that was lucky enough to go to see your team compete this year at a gymnastics meet or watch them on TV, I tell you, this weekend, Thursday and Saturday, me and my girls were locked in to everything that was done. And Coach, you got so much to be proud of with this team, and to me, you can tell a special group about what happens when their back's against the wall. What y'all did Thursday, going into that final rotation, down in third place behind Florida and Georgia, I believe. And y'all came back and absolutely crushed it and nailed it on the floor to get in to the final national championship meet. To me, spoke volumes to you, your program, and specifically that chemistry of the girls.
Well, and we were kind of sleepwalking midway through that meet. We were, couldn't get out of our own way. And I think you see that in sports a lot, when a lot's on the line, sometimes nerves can get the best of you, but really, coming out of balance beam that day, Kaylin Chio circled him up and gave him one of the most emotionally charged tongue lashings, that you would ever hear out of a little voice like that. But I thought it was great. They really looked up at the scoreboard. They realized if they would just get out of their way and be normal, they were in a good spot. And you're right, we lit it up on that last event, and particularly Amari Drayton and Kalia Lincoln and Kaylin Chio just finished out that rotation and really left no doubt that we belonged in that Final Four.
Yeah, it was absolutely looked like powerhouses on the floor, which was a ton of fun to watch. And then, of course, on Saturday, you come and score the second highest score in the NCAA finals in program history with an incredible performance. You ran into one heck of a team in Oklahoma. So I loved hearing what you said to your team. That's why we kind of opened this segment, because I've seen that your girls laid it on the line, and I hope they are holding their head up high, knowing that they did everything. And you just brought up Kaylin Chio as well. First perfect 10 in national championship history for LSU's program, and I think 13th on the season, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I mentioned this to Rabelais. I'm like, media always wants to talk about all these things, but she's unbelievable, really, and the level of consistency that she shows in no matter the circumstance has just been it's been something amazing to watch. And I've been doing this a long time. I don't know that I've ever seen anything quite like it, but she's incredible. The kids did an amazing job. They've got so much to be proud of. We're disappointed. It's already fueling our fire. I had individual meetings with half the team yesterday, and I think we've got 21 of those 24 routines returning next year, and they're already talking about let's get ready. So really, if you got to find a silver lining to finish in second, and what second place can feel like sometimes, but it's the silver lining is that the bulk of our team is coming back, and I think it's just going to drive them even further to create a level of excellence for themselves that even with this team as great as they did in the fall, it took us a little while to kind of find what that standard was going to be. And once they did, they really took off. And I think we'll have a much better starting point with this group going into the next year.
Yeah, Coach, that's where I was kind of going to head next with you on kind of going forward, looking to next season. I know that, it's only a couple days after the national championship meet. So you don't ever want to turn the page too fast, because you do kind of want to you got to celebrate the good stuff. You got to celebrate. That's why we do it, right? That's why you work so hard, is to celebrate a little bit and kind of look back and reflect. But there's a job to do. You do have to get ready for next season. And, You talked about the amount of talent and returning and core leadership that you got. But tell us about in the gymnastics world how the ever changing landscape of college athletics, how that kind of affects your program and kind of how y'all are going to handle returners, high school transfer portal, all that stuff.
Well, yesterday was a crazy day. We had just gotten back and all this stuff, and I'm doing individual meetings with members of the team, and Garrett's running into my office every 5-10 minutes, letting me know something else is going on in the portal, and so we're scheduling visits with potential transfers over the next couple of weeks right now, and we're in a pretty good spot with a couple of them, and feel good about what we'll be able to add. But the reality is that the core of what we need is already here, and not going anywhere. So we're going to add some pieces just to make sure that we've got enough depth and that we've got the insurance policy that we need should we run into some health issues and things of that nature. But I really like what we have coming back next year, and I really like the tone and tenor of what they're saying and how they're wanting to go into the summer. Certainly, we've got to get a little time off and let some bodies recover and that kind of thing. But I really like where their head is right now. And as for us, you just get back on the carousel. It doesn't stop. I mean, we are like I said, we're already in the portal. We've got our banquet Sunday, and then we go on our staff planning retreat for 3 or 4 days where we look at everything, set our entire calendar, change our training up if we feel we need to based on what we know from a health perspective of our team. We look at everything from apparel contracts to fundraising efforts to what we're doing with NIL and on and on and on. And we'll spend 3 or 4 days working on that. And then we get on the road, and we're gone through close to the end of May. And then I'll get 2 weeks of vacation and then back at it again starting in June. So it doesn't slow down a whole lot, but I'm looking forward to getting over to the beach here at the end of the month.
A whole 2 weeks? You get
a whole 2 weeks, brother.
I'll tell you
Look,
what.
Man, I will get over there by my happy, self and sit and sometimes not even leave the neighborhood for 2 weeks.
Well, I'll tell you.
I cannot wait.
Cannot wait. Well, it'll be well deserved because I can tell you, Coach, I don't envy any college coach right now in this world. The amount that y'all have to juggle and talk about, and it just seems like every year a little bit more. It takes a special person, and certainly we're happy and proud to have you leading the gymnastics team. And we had Dr. Stephen Etheredge here on the show a little bit earlier this morning, and I just want you to know he talks about how absolutely tough your team is, about the stress that they put on their bodies each and every day. And we've come to the conclusion that the gymnasts are probably the toughest athletes out there. Would you agree with that?
I would. I got to be careful how loud I say that sometimes because some people it doesn't land too well with. But I know what Dr. Etheredge and Dr. Fury had to do just to get us through the weekend. It took every bit of their engineering, if you will, to make sure that some of these kids could get through it. But they're tough. They're tough as nails. They're tough mentally. I've never been around, another sport where you have to block out so much in those moments of it's a lot more. It's a lot more. I tell this to people. I may have said it to y'all before. It's a lot more to me like Sunday at the Masters than from a mental standpoint. You've got to be locked in, and you can't let anything intrude on that mindset that you have. And they're tough as nails, dude. They're way tougher than I am. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I think way tougher than I am as well. So, all right, Coach. Well, I know you got a lot of work to do and already focusing on next season and maybe those 2 weeks of vacation, but let's take one last look back. And if you have to, when you look back, when the dust settles on everything, a couple years from now, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it is, when you look back at this 2025, 2026 team, how are you going to think about them?
Well, right now, I would put them, there's been, until this year, there's been 2 teams in my career that I really look back on in awe. It was a 2005 team when I was still at Georgia that was freshman heavy, that went through a losing streak in the middle of the season, barely qualified to nationals, and then won the whole thing. And the way they went about doing it, I learned a lot about culture, and I learned a lot about what it can mean, no matter if it's coming from freshmen or upperclassmen, and brought those lessons. That team really taught me a lot. The 2023 team here that did not win but got to the finals in the face of ridiculous adversity from an injury standpoint. We had kids competing in events that they never dreamed they'd be doing when they were here at LSU, and they were doing it for the right reasons, and they were honoring each other with their actions, and which is something we talk about a lot in our program. And then this year's team. So two of those three did not win championships, but the way they conducted themselves and the way they competed and the way they went after it with a level of tenacity and just refusal to die will always stick with me, because there were a lot of things unknown going on, within our team from some of it from a physical health standpoint that we had to deal with. That you don't put everything out there in the public all the time, I'm just proud of them. I'm just proud of the way they conducted themselves. I'm proud of the way they confronted issues when they needed to and held each other accountable, and did some really old-fashioned good stuff that you don't hear an awful lot anymore in today's generation, where it's like, if I don't like it, I'm leaving. These kids got in the trenches together, and if they had to argue or fight, they did it, but they handled it in a way that was very adult-like, and they were able to get through any issue that came their way because they were willing to do it for a bigger purpose. And I couldn't be more proud of this group. I just couldn't.
Yeah, well, Coach, we it certainly came through, and that's I think I hope I speak for all LSU fans of saying we were proud to watch it as well. So we appreciate your time, Coach, and congrats on a fantastic season and a fantastic team over there. So, Coach, we appreciate the time this morning.
All right, guys, thank you. I appreciate y'all having me on.
All right, there he is, Coach Jay Clark. You're a coach for the LSU gymnastics team, national runner-up by less than a tenth. And fantastic stuff from Coach. As always, we want to thank him every single week that he has joined us this season. So, hey, looking forward ahead, and hopefully gets that much needed and much deserved little bit of time off. So let's go to break. We're going to close out hour number 2 right here on Off the Bench.
Off the bench.
All right. You need a new roof? You might need a new roof. Maybe it's just a roof repair. Maybe you got a little leak happening. Well, you want to call the best. You don't want to work with like second best, fifth best, 10th best. You want to work with the number one. That's Pelican Roof, pelicanroof.com. Go check them out right there at their website. They got offices in Lafayette. They got offices in Baton Rouge. So, what does that mean for you when it comes to your roof? I don't care where their offices are, whatever. Well, that means they don't have crews. They don't have project managers driving across the basin every single day to get to your project. Spend a little time there. No, they got people all over that will be dedicated to your project and your roof to make sure it is done the Pelican way, done the right way with the best craftsmanship, the best quality, the best people, customer service. You drive by one of their job sites in the neighborhood and you see their signs up. It's a clean construction site. People are working steadily, absolute professionals. Go check them out. You can see all the 5-star reviews right there in the meanest place on earth, the internet. They love Pelican Roof, and go check them out. You can check out financing options as well right there, pelicanroof.com.
Off the bench, presented by Hood Dental.
All right, welcome back here, Off the Bench. We are closing out hour number 2. Time flies when you are having fun. Quinn, Alondra, Cassie, holding it down here.
We're crushing it.
Lady Kane as well.
She's also crushing it.
I don't know why I call her Lady Kane. Just came out.
Yeah. She is a lady.
She is a lady, and her name is Kane. I want to thank Coach Jay Clark last segment. He's awesome, man. He's great. Both the Jays, both coaches, they're fantastic.
Yeah. Probably top 2 Jays in the entire world.
I'm trying to think. I mean, for sure at the top, I don't. I gotta think of some other J's before
I think
I
they're
say,
the top two.
before I pin it in. I'll
Jay
pencil it in.
Cutler?
No. Jay Leno?
No.
I mean, he's pretty cool, huh?
I guess. He's kind of fallen off after he got, like, beat by the Mafia.
Yeah, I guess so.
The hill that he tried to say he rolled down, kind of more of a slope.
See, I
than a
don't
hill.
really, I'm not too familiar with that story.
Rumor has it that he got beat up by the Mafia.
What about Jay-Z?
Okay, I can get behind Jay-Z, but, like, I still, in my opinion, Jay Johnson and Jay Clark are top two.
Yeah, I guess I got to agree with you. I just looked up famous Jays, and I'm not seeing a whole bunch.
No.
Jay-Z, Jay Leno, Jay Farrow,
Jay Farrow.
who's a comedian.
Oh,
he's
he's
on
on
Saturday Night
SNL.
Live.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
He does impressions.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Jay Johnson, Jay Clark, top Jays.
Top
two
two
Jays.
Jays.
Jay-Z, third place.
Yeah. Or we could do 1A, 1B, Jay Johnson and Jay Clark, and then Jay-Z.
Okay. They just hold the first and second places
Mm-hmm.
in no particular order.
Right.
Interesting. Well, I'll tell you what. It's been a hell of a morning. Been a lot of fun. We got one more hour left of this nonsense. And this brand new shiny tripod with Lady Kane over here is going to be holding it down. So stick with us all hour number 3 right here on Off the Bench.
Off the bench.
Tell you what, Lady Kane's looking a little younger today. I don't know why. And if you want to get feeling a little younger, maybe look a little younger, go to RejuveMeMedical.com. Rejuve Medical, they got clinics all over the place. They got 13 clinics across Louisiana. They even got one over there in Mississippi. So if you're hearing us talk today, their chances are you have an incredible Rejuve Me clinic that is near you that you can go in and start a conversation with them. You can get some blood panels drawn. And so what can they do? They can do cosmetics. They can do a little Botox, Brotox situation. They have peptides. Peptides is kind of like all the rage right now. It's incredible. I'm doing peptides. I feel awesome. But they also have hormone replacement therapy. We're talking testosterone. So men, if you're out there and you want a little bit more energy, if you just don't have that zest for life, you kind of wake up and you're like, another day. Well, could be because you got low testosterone. Go check them out. RejuveMeMedical.com. RejuveMeMedical.com.